Welcome to the Awaken on Purpose podcast, where each week you'll hear inspirational stories of heart-centered leaders who have awakened to their higher purpose and taken that leap of faith to follow their heart and make an impact in the world. Get ready to be enlightened, empowered, and transformed with your host, Jennifer Spohr.
Overjoyed to welcome as a guest to the show today, Danielle Grant. She is a corporate employee turned entrepreneur. She is the founder of Your Mindset Mentor, a peak mindset performance company for entrepreneurs, and she is the host of the Mind Vibe podcast. Welcome, Danielle.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here too. And I know we're going to have an amazing conversation. We were already talking prior to this, and I feel like we're definitely kindred spirits. That's for sure.
I second that. I definitely agree. You're one of my soul sisters for sure.
Oh, I love that. So, Danielle, what inspired you to actually do the work that you're doing today?
It's a great question. That, really what inspired me to do what I do is that I believe it is my purpose and my passion. And I know a lot of people are out there looking for that, but we always know what it is. And I've always known that I wanted to inspire and motivate people. I just didn't know what that looked like. And my life experiences led me down a certain path of really understanding personal growth and mindset. And then when I got let go from my last corporate job almost 3 years ago, I basically was like, now's the time to jump into entrepreneurship and give a go at being someone who's motivational and inspirational, not knowing what that looked like. And here we are now with Your Mindset Mentor. So it just really, that desire really came from an inner passion and purpose of myself.
I love that. And I feel like there are so many people in the world, right, that have a passion and a purpose, something on their heart that they're feeling guided to pursue. Yet so many people choose not to take that action because they feel like life has to be lived in this cookie cutter way. So they sort of end up living, not even really living, just like existing in this, I like to call it a comfortably unhappy state. So what caused you to actually, beyond having the passion, how did you summon the courage and the guts to start your own business versus just going into another job? Because you could have gotten another job doing something you enjoyed, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The real thing that it was I was someone who worked in the corporate world for 10 years and I had great success. I climbed the corporate ladders. I did that whole cookie cutter thing like you're talking about. And I found that every time I was in those positions, the corporations were never really valuing me as an employee because I was giving so much effort. And when the moment came for me to let go from that last corporate job, my boss actually said to me that day, when we talk about what really made me find the courage and do that, it was the universe. The universe came behind me and shoved me out the door and said, you are not supposed to be working corporate world. And I looked at myself and I was like, you know what? The corporate world is not for me. I can either go back into the rat race and keep doing the same thing, or I can try and see what happens and go from there. And if I'm being completely honest, I really had no idea what this journey looked like, or even the amount of courage or limiting beliefs I was going to have to go through. So to say like, how'd you get through the courage? I didn't really think about it. I just knew that I was tired of working in the corporate world and I was willing to at least try and see if it worked for me. And then I would go from there.
I so relate to what you're saying because for me, I continued to resist for a while. And essentially my pain of where I was at exceeded my fear of uncertainty. And then I just did it.
That's, I think, what everyone does. You get to this point where you've just had enough of something and you realize that voice that's telling you can't just is irrelevant and you're worth more.
Totally. I could talk about this for like hours. We could have 5 podcast episodes about this, but yes, I mean, that's actually part of what inspired me to do this work because I really want to help other people take that action to follow what's on their heart before it gets to be that painful, right?
Mm-hmm. You know what, though? I think for the people that are listening to this, I think there's also a certain aspect of a lot of us know that we're at that point, and a lot of people are so far beyond that point that it's just having enough vulnerability to say to yourself, like, I'm at that point.
That's so true. And many people are conditioned to believe that vulnerability is weakness, and it's really not. It's a strength.
Absolutely. It's a strength.
I think you alluded to this earlier, Danielle, but every experience in our lives serves a purpose. It helps to shape who we become. Beyond your transition from corporate into becoming an entrepreneur, is there another experience in your life that you feel has been significant in shaping the person that you become today?
Absolutely there is. And this will go full circle to me saying that this has been my passion and my purpose. And I've always had this inner desire to motivate and inspire people. And being younger, I didn't know where that desire came from, but I knew that it was there. When I was 15 years old, I actually wanted to take my life. And my mother, fortunately enough, took me to the hospital, and I was checked into the psych ward for 5 days. And it was the first time in my life where I had asked myself the question of, how did I get here? How did I think my life wasn't worth living for? And I had no idea that by asking a powerful question like that, the amount of thoughts and clarity and information that would come. And from that moment forward, I became a closet obsessive person on mindset and understanding how our thoughts work and how this whole thing happens for us in personal development. And I really didn't think about that being my purpose and passion, but it was something I didn't share with anybody. I didn't tell anybody about it, but I did it while I was working in the corporate world. I was very heavy in understanding personal development. I studied with Buddhist monks. And so that was really the experience in my life that got me going on to now being able to where I am, where I have 15 years of mindset experience, and I never used it before. So if it weren't for that experience, I truly wouldn't be here today.
Wow. I mean, I can't imagine at that age what you must have felt to feel that much pain. And I mean, where it's brought you today, I mean, I just want to thank you for doing what you do, right? For having the willingness to be vulnerable to share that, because that no doubt is inspiring other people and definitely making an impact, and helping to move others to action. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So there have been, there are a lot of changes going on in the world, and you and I were talking about this prior to starting our interview today. But there are already people out there, right, feeling called to do something to make a bigger impact. And now with what we've been experiencing as a planet in terms of our shifting consciousness and a global awakening, if you will, these people may feel more of a sense of urgency to move forward. What advice do you have for those people that are listening who are feeling that call to take action, but they still may be holding back for whatever reason?
Wow, that's a really great question. What I would say to that person is that it doesn't matter what you do in your life. There's always a level of fear and uncertainty and doubt. And so when we talk about taking action in an aspect of our life that is very purpose-driven and having fear around that, we have to recognize that fear is in all aspects of our life. And the first thing you want to do is address that fear isn't singular to seeking your purpose or taking action on your purpose. That's something that we generate in all of our life. And in saying that, you then want to go beyond that and ask the questions of, why am I really afraid? Why don't I think I'm worth it? Why do I not think I know what my passion is? You want to ask questions so that you can start to get some clarity and some answers from yourself. And the reason why most people get stuck in that place is because they don't ask questions to get any sort of clarity. to move them in any sort of different direction. So it's just really understanding that those emotional feelings that you're experiencing are part of your ego. They're a natural part of life, and they're designed to keep you stuck. And so you need to push through that barrier and then start really looking at what is it that you want to do. And now more than ever, we're all at home with this time to maybe dive a little bit deeper into that finding that purpose or that passion, or taking action on that thing that we have always wanted to take action on. It's ultimately just our own selves that are in our own way. So just really, to the person who's listening to this, ask more questions of yourself about why you're there, or why you're stuck, or why you're afraid.
That's fantastic advice. I mean, asking questions, it's super important. And we have to have that desire to grow, that desire to discover the answers, because they're not just gonna, drop out of the sky while we're sitting there watching Netflix or whatever.
They're not? Oh,
No, they're not. We have to, meet the universe halfway, right? Yeah, that is super important. And I hope that helps a lot of people move forward. One thing I had lost my train of thought on that I just remembered that I wanted to mention is that, you talked about people being confused or people not being sure about what they want to do. And something that I've found is a lot of people actually do have an idea of what they're feeling guided to do, but they question whether or not it's possible.
Yeah.
Do you experience that as well?
Absolutely. And you know what that actually comes down to is that one of two things. One of them is you don't think it's possible because you actually don't believe in yourself, which has nothing to do with it being possible. It has everything to you on a subconscious level, not believing that you're worthy of it. So that's one part of it. The other part of that is it becomes a money thing. We look at these things that we're super passionate about, and we're like, oh, we can't make the millions of dollars that we're all apparently striving for in life. Therefore, it's not a viable option. If we stopped looking at these things in our life that we're so passionate about as things that wouldn't make us money, we would actually find that we're in control of how much money that business makes. And that in itself is just stopping us from taking action, and it's an excuse. So that's really the one that people want to look at is, am I looking at the passion that I know that I have and looking at it like it's not a viable business option because I don't think it can make me the money that I want? And if that's where your mind's going, it's a completely faulty mindset. And you really want to take a look at why you're not stepping into that passion and if it's money driven.
Absolutely. And especially in the time that we're living in right now, along with the shift that we're experiencing, there are a lot of new innovations being birthed into the world. So, if what someone is considering doing is outside, what they've known to be possible before, don't discount that, right?
Yeah. The word possible says I'm possible. So.
Exactly. Danielle, how can someone find you if they want to connect with you and learn more about what you're up to?
Yeah, so people can find me on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, Danielle Grant at I am Danielle Grant. You can catch me on my podcast, The Mind Vibe, which is on all the major platforms. And those are really the best places to find me.
Danielle, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. And I could honestly talk to you for days.
I could too. This has been a great interview. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Awake and On Purpose podcast. Please visit us and subscribe to the podcast at awakeandonpurpose.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about how you can connect with your higher purpose and take that leap of faith to make your impact in the world, visit us at jenniferspor.com. And while you're there, be sure to join our email list for exclusive offers and a weekly dose of inspiration.